What's going on, guys, and welcome to a new video. In this video we're going to be talking about something which I specialise in, so it's going to be a really informative video hopefully, and I'm going to share some tips on how you can improve logo design specific stuff, like improving your presentation when it comes to showcasing your logos to clients, because this is one of the things that I didn't always pay attention to when it came to freelancing and being a graphic designer. But since I switched to opting to provide more information to the clients, showing them visual representations on how certain logos could work for their business, it's improved my process massively. And beforehand, when I was sending logos across to clients, I would send them this massive detailed paragraph in an email detailing in a Word format how the logo works, what elements make up the whole logo, and why it would be the perfect solution for their business. But in terms of portraying the actual value to a client, this just isn't the right way to go about doing things. What you should be doing is putting much more detail in your actual presentations, putting together some visual representations of how the logo looks, how it works, and what makes up the logo as well. We're going to jump into Illustrator. I'm going to show you some tips. I'm going to show you how you could be presenting your logos, how to improve your presentation, and also how to export screens from Illustrator directly into a PDF format, which makes sending your actual logos across to clients so much easier. I'm going to try my best not to get blinded by the flashing light that's going directly into my eyeballs, but at this rate I'm going to end up blind by the end of the video, so just keep that in mind. This is the level of dedication that I'm putting into these videos. I'm willing to go blind for them. So we're in Illustrator now. I've just brought up a project that I've recently finalised. So it was a rebrand for Project 4X. I worked on their logo, created them a logo mark, and then as well as what you're seeing here, you're seeing loads of different concepts that I've came up with. So this kind of gives you an idea of how I present stuff to clients. So the first slide at the top is just something that I've mocked together in the last couple of minutes because I noticed that I didn't include the brand colours on there. The reason for this is because the brand colours we didn't touch. They were kept exactly the same because these were colours that they essentially liked, and I thought for this purpose it would work in terms of incorporating that within the rebrand as well. So there was no real reason for me to include this in the slide, but usually what I would do is I would include the brand colours as a nice little introduction, and then like I've done here, I'd put the logo in the top left hand corner, just so you can see before you get to the first slide what the logo is going to look like in its simplest form. So with that being said, what I usually tend to do after that is I do an actual breakdown of the logo. So as I mentioned earlier, instead of bombarding your clients with loads of text to read through, it's nice to have visual representations of exactly what you mean in a presentation, so they can just read through it and then they can see exactly what each element is that makes up something like a logo mark, for example. So in this case, we've got a simple logo mark. It's a P and an F, and to distinguish the different areas of the mark, all I've simply done is change the colours and highlighted certain elements of each design. So it starts off by showing them a clear representation of the mark, and then jumps into what the mark means. So a P and F Project 4X mark with a P shape with the P highlighted, and then to make up the Project 4X mark, it's the P shape and the F shape together, which forms the entirety of the mark. So it's just a simple way of explaining exactly what it stands for without, again, bombarding your clients with loads of information. The second slide is where it gets a little bit more detailed, but it's just an overview of essentially how the logo can be used and how it should be used. So you've got some nice grids in play showing some of the technical aspects when it comes to the design, because this is something that often goes unseen, particularly when you're sending stuff over to clients, and it's really nice to include in your slides so that you can show your technical aspects of your design, because that's how designs are put together. There is some level of technicality when it comes to choosing different design choices. So in this instance, you can see the space between the logo mark and the type. You can also see the space between the top and the bottom and the left and the right. And this is essentially showing the client how the logo should be used. You've also got some nice examples of the logo mark on its own, which shows it in different colors, shows, you know, a clear representation of how an app icon would look, or a profile picture or an avatar, all things that a business would need, particularly if they're an online business, for things like their social media pages and favicons for the website, for example. What I also like to include is a horizontal version of the logo as well as a stacked version of the logo, just again to show the versatility and the range of the logo. And it's important for you to put these little things together, because often a horizontal logo will be used for certain purposes and a stacked logo will be used for other purposes, and it's nice to have that variation in place. So that's pretty much a really simple presentation that I put together for him. Included amongst this were several different mock-ups. So this is another key thing that you need to be including in your presentations. As well as using flat images of the logo, you need to be able to engage the client's imagination by putting together visual representations. Let's say, for example, you're working with an electrician. You need to think to yourself, what would be relevant to them in terms of where they would display their logo? Now, for me, I would put together a mock-up of a van, showcasing a vinyl on the side of the van, maybe a wrap of the colours and the logo and the contact details, so they can see, okay, this is something that they could potentially use going forward. Business cards are always relevant to use for businesses. It's something that's widely used, so if you can't think of any mock-ups, always just go for the standard business cards, letterheads, stationery, that sort of thing. But you know, it's nice to think outside the box as well. So for an electrician that I worked with a couple of years ago, I put together a hard hat which was specific to electricians. So I used a blue colour scheme, which is relevant to the type of hard hats that electricians would wear on site, and I just used their logo that I created and put that on the front of the hard hat to show how different items can be branded. I'll give you some examples and I'll show you exactly what I mean with another project that I've recently finalised. And shout out to Cody, this is your company. So this is INJCN, which is a fitness brand who wanted me to work on some Christmas related designs. So we worked on a range of really cool looking designs. And again, these mock-ups are all relevant to the business. You know, caps, something that they sell. Jumpers, something that they don't sell at the minute, I don't believe, but it's something that they could think about, and if they see something that works, it gives them something to consider. T-shirts is something that they sell, and I believe hoodies is something that they sell as well, but these are all relevant to a fitness brand or a clothing brand in general. Just putting together visual representations of how the logo can be displayed, and it's really easy to do. All you need to do is go on a mock-up website, whether it's subscription based or it's entirely free, and just put together these mock-ups, because believe me, when it comes to representing your logo in the best light, this is going to benefit you so much more than just writing out a bunch of text that more often than not, your client's not even going to read through. So if you want to convince your client that a certain logo or a certain concept is the best option for them, the best solution, you need to be taking these steps in order to convince them that that is the case. So again, I use a combination of mock-ups and still images of the logo. I show the logo in various formats. So let's take the Star of Bethlehem design, which is really a massive favourite of mine. I love this design. So I start off by showing them a black and a white version. So without any colour or effects or shading in place, they can see this is what makes up the whole design. Then I jump into a version where the night sky is black, and then another version where the night sky is blue. So they have the option of using the different types of logos wherever they please. And also the difference between these two is it uses a black font on one of them and a white on the other. So you need to be showing variation, you need to be showing different mock-ups, and it's just really nice to put this in play in terms of being able to visually represent your ideas in the best possible way. So another thing that I mentioned that I'll show you guys on how to do is actually how to export your screens and import them within Photoshop to create PDFs. So this is something that you can do through Illustrator, but as I mentioned, when you're putting mockups together, it's kind of easier to just save a file or a folder, of all these different images, compile them together, and then just import them within Photoshop. And I'll show you exactly why. It's a really straightforward process. So if you didn't know about this function, this is going to save time in your process drastically, believe me. All of these different sections are artboards essentially, and you can export them all together. So if I was to do that, I'll just go to File, Export for screens, and let's say I just want to take a couple of these slides for, the purpose of this video. So I'm just going to enable a few of them and disable the majority of them. So what you want to make sure is that you are saving at JPEG 100, which makes sure that it's a JPEG file at the highest quality. You want to make sure that the scale is 1, and the artboard size that I usually use is 1920 by 1080, just because if they're viewing this on a mobile and then they turn their phone around, it's going to go full screen. And also, if they're viewing this on a desktop, it's going to be full screen naturally, being that ratio. So it's always nice to just use a 1920 by 1080 canvas. Gives you plenty of space to work with, and it gives them plenty to see on the screen as well. You don't want anything to be too small. So what I'll do from here, in order to export these to a folder that I can use in order to put this all together into a PDF, I'll just put something together, a folder which says slides, and then I would choose that folder and then simply press export artboards, and then all it will do is export those screens, put it into a folder for you. And then what you need to do is open Photoshop, File, Automate, PDF Presentation, Browse, and this is a project that I've been working on recently, so this is something that I've done with it just automatically opening it. So go back to desktop, slides, open these two up, and then bam, load them in. So by default, the file that's at the top will appear as the very first slide. So if you want to rearrange these, all you need to do is drag and drop them in different places, depending on where you want the images to be in terms of the first page, second page, third page, whatever it may be. When you're done, just name it whatever you want. So for this purpose, I'll just put Project 4X Rebrand. Save. By default, it will go to high quality print. What I usually pick is smallest file size. Go to compression and make sure the image quality is at maximum, and then just save it. It will save it as a really small file format, and that's your presentation done. So if we save it and then I go to view it, you should see that it's put it into a nice presentation for me. So if I go back to the desktop, open up Project 4X Rebrand, you can see, simply put it into a presentation for me, and that's it. That's really as simple as it gets. So if you aren't doing this, please use these tips that I've put forward to put together really nice presentations for your clients, because it's going to help. And if you aren't already using stuff like exporting for screens to export all of the artboards in Illustrator, it's going to save you massive amounts of time. So hopefully this has proven to be quite useful to you guys. Maybe with the next project that I put out, I'll delve into stuff like how to create mockups or how to use mockups in order to convey a certain message to your clients, in order to sort of tell them that the options that you're putting forward are the right solutions for them and convince them of that. So I am currently working on a logo design project at the minute. We're in the works of getting it finalized. So once it is finalized, if you're interested in seeing a follow-up video from this and want to see the ins and outs of using mockups, then I'd be more than happy to make a video on that, because it's something that I'm interested in, and I know that it will massively improve your presentations as a whole, and it's something that I believe another video would benefit from. So yeah, hopefully this has proven to be useful to you guys. I've tried to make this as short and sweet as possible, but I have a suspicion that this is going to be a lengthy one. Stay tuned for the next one. Drop a like, subscribe if you like this content, and I'll be with you guys in the next video.